the first thing I want to show you is our kiwi vines. Any of the ones that had flowers on them, as much as it hurts me to do it, I pulled them off, and I always have really good harvests of cucumbers that way. And it's perfectly clean. There are no bugs on it. If this was one that was in with the goats, they probably ripped it. We won't blame the goats. They're not here to defend themselves. God. Pardon my weeds. Hey there, my name is Crystal. Welcome to our channel. We live in Connecticut, Zone 6B, and today I'm going to be doing a very quick mid-June garden tour. I'm gonna take advantage of some of the sunshine today and maybe just go through the garden and take a look and see how things are growing, see if I see any squash beetles that need to be removed, just check and see if anything needs some more fertilizer, show you an update on our kiwi vines and how those are looking right now, and also the plants. In my last full video, I talked about how my peppers were stunted and our garlic was falling over from all the rain. I had given some of the things a little bit of a boost of fertilizer, and I want to show you how those are looking. And I also want to answer some questions that I get quite frequently on our short videos, either here or on TikTok. I kind of get the same questions over and over again. So I want to answer those a little bit too. So just kind of hang out in the garden, enjoy this beautiful day, and see what needs to get done out here. We are going to go around and look at everything, and if I see something that needs to be harvested, I'm going to harvest it. And if I see something that needs to be fertilized, I'll make a mental note because I don't feel like doing that today. It's kind of hot out. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you is our kiwi vines. They have exploded. There are kiwi berries all over it. There were tons of flowers. Every time I thought I should take a picture or a video of the kiwi berry flowers, I didn't either have my phone with me or my camera with me every single time, and then it would just start raining and I wouldn't go back out, and so I'd just keep forgetting. Unfortunately, I didn't get any pictures of the kiwi berry flowers this year, and I'm sad about it because there were tons of them. And so right now there's a bunch of little tiny kiwi berries growing all over it. I am debating whether or not I'm going to be putting a net over the top of them. I think I might, just not so I don't risk any birds getting to the berries. They're so delicious, and we only get one harvest a year from them. I still have like a quart-sized bag of frozen kiwi berries in our large freezer from last year that I'm hoping to combine with some of the strawberries that I harvest this year and make some sort of kiwi strawberry jam type thing. I'm really excited to get another harvest of the kiwi berries because they're so fun and they're delicious. And it looks like we're gonna get an even larger harvest than we did last year, hopefully. That's just how they look right now. You know, they said that we are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m. tonight. And while it's mostly blue skies, I feel like I hear rumbling off in the distance. So I'm gonna try and do this quickly. So in front of the kiwi vines inside the garden, I have this kale underneath one of the nets just to prevent worms from getting to them. Those are pimento peppers, and we've got a green machine zucchini that is got ants all over it, but there's a zucchini growing. We have some Swiss chard. I probably could harvest some of that. And our Alaska peas are looking great. These are a shelling variety. So like that one would be a good one to pick today. Once they get a little bit too far, then they get kind of woody because they start to get seed like if it gets much bigger, much fatter than that, then it just starts to, the taste of the peas gets kind of yucky. They taste very wood-like, and they aren't as sweet as they are when you pick them when they're right at that perfect point. Oh, I hear the thunder. I hear thunder. Great. I've been harvesting the chestnut red garlic. The ones that are in here are still looking okay. The larger varieties, hardneck garlic that we're growing, so the Italy Hill and the Music, those are doing fantastic. I'll probably harvest the scapes this weekend. There are some chestnut red in here that I could harvest probably today that are really falling over. And all we'll be left with is the larger varieties if I do that. And then in here, are the berry basket strawberries that I transplanted in here. When we went plant shopping around Mother's Day, I had seen these beautiful pink flowers on the strawberry plant, and I was like, oh, I want that. It wasn't labeled, it didn't have a price, and I brought it up front, and she told me it's a berry basket strawberry, and they are ever bearing. This was like the main plant, and then I separated out some of the smaller ones, and then shot off runners. And here we are 1 month later, and one of the runners is already producing flowers. I'm pretty impressed by that. In this bed back here, I just have a variety of different things. We've got some zucchini, tomato plants, Long Island cheese pumpkin in the back that I'll be vining. They just kind of look like they would this time of year, where they're still very small. Probably could use maybe a little bit of a boost of fertilizer. Over here are some of our fabric pots, and I did go to the local garden center this past weekend and picked up some pepper plants because they had their organic ones on sale, buy one get one half off. And so I picked up 4 pepper plants, different varieties, 2 hot and 2 sweet, for $24. And so they're kind of expensive, but they're just such a great quality. I got this Mad Hatter pepper in this container, and I have had a horrible time growing habaneros from seed, so I went ahead and purchased a habanero pepper. I've got this sweet giant Marconi. I put it in with our sweet pepper bed because the Sunbright bell pepper that I had in this corner did not make it. Similar to how this one is doing, the one next to it just didn't make it at all. So I just put that one there in its place. And over here we have a sweet chocolate pepper. Now, one of the things I want to point out with the peppers, because I'm going to show you how those are looking after I added fertilizer to them. But one of the things I want to point out is I've had several comments about plants being stunted this year. And we all know why. The weather, it's been icky, you know, all the rain just washing out any nutrients. The plant doesn't even have a chance to absorb any of the nutrients in the soil because it's just constantly raining. It's cloudy, it got cold. I mean, these are all the perfect weather ingredients for stunted plants. And so in my last video, I had showed putting some granular fertilizer around our pepper plants to see if that would give them a little bit of a boost during our next like 3 days of rain that we had been forecasted. And they are doing so much better. So I don't know if you can tell the difference, but I can. The leaves are so much greener, like they're much more of a darker green than they were before. Some of the plants are still for sure not the healthiest, and I'm hoping they make a comeback. But the hot peppers, especially these Black Magic F1 jalapenos, one of my favorite varieties, looking really good. So now I'm hopeful that the peppers will be okay this year. One of the other things I've been doing with the peppers in particular, because they are stunted, I do this with plants that I am transplanting. So the plants that I purchased that I just showed you that I transplanted in the ground, any of the ones that had flowers on them, as much as it hurts me to do it, I pulled them off just so that that plant can focus on some good root development and doing what it needs to do to grow healthy, rather than just trying to focus all its energy onto producing a pepper. You would end up with like a wonky looking pepper anyway. So you might as well just pull it off and let the plant get a little bit better, a little bit healthier before it starts producing peppers or more flowers on the plant. So I do the same thing with the stunted plants. So a lot of the stunted plants started to produce flowers and like they weren't even growing. So I picked off the flowers, and it really helps with how healthy our plants look now. I'm happy that I did that, and I'm hopeful now that we will end up with maybe some peppers to harvest this year. So back over here, I have a green globe artichoke. Somebody had asked me, and I just remembered a while ago, they had asked me about my artichoke plants, and I said I would do a quick video on it, and then I completely forgot. But I do have artichoke plants in various sections of our garden. I have one in this fabric pot, one over here in the cucumber bed, and 2 struggling over here in this garden bed. I do not have good luck with artichoke plants. Every year I start the seeds. Every year I tried and transplant them out here. In my experience, I have not been able to overwinter artichokes. I don't know if it's because we're too cold of a climate. I've tried putting mulch on the in-ground ones and cutting them back, mulching them, and seeing if they'll come back in the spring, and they don't. If you have any tips or tricks on how to grow artichokes, especially if you live in the area, I would really appreciate it, because I have a really horrible time growing artichokes, and I love artichokes. The flowers that they produce are so pretty, so it always just continuously produces leaves, and then by the time fall hits, it's, you know, as soon as we get the first frost, it's done. So in the container pots, I have just a variety of different things: bushing beans and some tomatoes, carrots, and a bushing variety of cucumber. So lots of different things growing. Behind me in with the 2 garlic beds, I have the shallots also. Not quite at the stage yet where they should be harvested, but they look really good. In the cucumber bed, I already showed you the artichoke plant that we have in here, but I'm getting a lot of volunteer tomato plants. And these ones are a Rosella cherry tomato. It's what I've had growing in here for the past couple of years. The volunteers I'll let go because they look like great plants, and I'm not gonna stop them from doing what they need to do. In the mix here, there's Marketmore cucumber from Dollar Tree. Many of the Mexican sour gherkins didn't make it, so I restarted a bunch of seeds, and that's why there's a whole bunch of them there. I'm probably gonna have to thin those back because they're extremely prolific plants that produce a lot, and the vines will take over this entire trellis. Chicago pickling cucumber. So this is a really good example of when I restarted seeds, because so many of my cucumber seedlings just did not make it in the yucky weather. The difference in size of plants. So these are both Chicago pickling cucumber plants from Baker Creek. I started these seeds indoors in mid-April, and then I transplanted them out here like a month later. The plants looked pretty much like that when I had transplanted them out here. Many of the cucumbers didn't make it, so I restarted a bunch of seeds, and I didn't write down the date that I did it because I just kind of ran out here with the seed packets and then dumped them in the ground. But I've got these ones here that I started indoors, and these ones right next to it are the ones that I started from seed out here after the fact. So I usually grow multiple cucumber seeds together. I find I always have the best results with that. It's just my go-to method. So I always start at least 3 cucumber seeds together, and I do not thin them back, and I do not separate them. And I always have really good harvests of cucumbers that way. If I have multiple plants that are vining like this, I'll just allow some to either trellis up and over, and then some I'll allow to just grow along the ground, and it's worked out well. So I've got several different varieties in here. I would say this bed, definitely, if I was going to fertilize something, I should probably fertilize this one. I did put a handful of Boston pickling cucumbers over here. It's one of my favorite varieties. I had put 6 seedlings in here, and only one of them has made it. So hopefully some of those seeds sprout and I get more plants. Same thing with the silver slicers. And I've also got these ground cherries in here. It's nice with the fabric underneath, because when the ground cherries fall, they fall into the fabric, and it makes it really easy to harvest them. Also, I did start more parsnip seeds in here. I threw some more in, say, maybe this past weekend. The ones that I put in here before didn't sprout. So if these ones don't sprout, I'm gonna have to go look for new seeds, because obviously the ones that I bought for last year, they're not cutting it. I've got potatoes growing. Oh, I have potatoes over here too, in one of the fabric pots. And then in these 55-gallon drums that I've cut in half, I've got more potatoes, and they are ready to be harvested. plants already flowered and they're starting to die back, and that's always an indication to me that the potatoes are ready. Here is our brassica bed. I am so impressed with it. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner when trying to grow cabbages and things. I just harvested kale the other night from here, and it is just delicious, and it's perfectly clean. There are no bugs on it. I don't know what took me so long to use netting over my brassicas, but I'm already starting to see some broccoli. I don't know if you can see it through the net. I've gotten small broccoli before, growing it out here in pots and stuff, but I'm hoping that maybe I get a little bit larger harvest this year. Same thing with Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. So does Steve. So we're hoping to get our own, or be able to grow our own, would be really nice. And then I also have some red cabbage and cauliflower. And I also started, because I had this empty space in here, one of the cauliflower plants just died for no reason. I don't know why it died. Just like that one in the middle is just kind of stunted, very small. I don't know what's going on with that. I started some arugula, which is already sprouted in there, Merlot lettuce, and Bloomsdale longstanding spinach, just kind of in this 2 square foot area here. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting some greens. Because it's getting so warm, I grabbed a old torn, not beautiful shade cloth, and I have it over the plants just to prevent them from wilting too much during the day. I'm gonna have to look up the price and see how much the shade cloths are on Amazon right now, because I do really like this brand. If this was one that was in with the goats, they probably ripped it. We won't blame the goats. They're not here to defend themselves. There we go. And it just provides a little bit of shade in there for the plants. But so far, loving this setup, and I want to do more. On this side of the garden, I've got peas in this container. It's little Marvel peas in a very small container, and just a nice harvest of them. Little Marvel peas, I believe, are a shelling pea. I could be wrong. That means just like the Alaska peas, they grow, and then you wait for the pods to swell out before you harvest the peas. I like to eat them as snow peas. I pick them off a little bit too early, and I love them in salads. They're so good. I've got a Serrano chili pepper in here that's doing well. Now, if this one starts to produce flowers, I'll be okay with it because it's doing well. Oh, I was at Home Depot for something. I think it was on Father's Day. We ran into Home Depot for something. And of course I went into the garden section because that's what I do. And I saw this chocolate mint. It smells so good. It smells like either Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies or those Andes chocolates that you get at the restaurants. It smells so good, and I bet it would be really good as a tea. In our green stock, I also have the herbs doing well. I've got marjoram and sage. Here's what the dill is looking like, and we've got more dill. There is a volunteer tomato plant in the green stock, and I'm thinking it's one of those dwarf varieties that I had in here last year. I hope that's what it is, because I don't think anything else could really handle it in here. The dwarf variety of tomatoes in the green stock do really well. And I keep starting new seeds. Some days I go in through my seeds, I grab some with me, and I throw them in, and it's just to kind of stagger out the plantings a little bit, make sure that we continuously get stuff. If all of a sudden the cilantro starts bolting, which I do need to harvest, I'll have some more coming in. That way when I go to can up salsa, I'll have hopefully cilantro available to me in the garden. So it's just kind of good to stagger out the plantings if you're able to, and if you have a lot of seeds, or if you are able to get seeds fairly inexpensively, and you don't mind just continuously starting seeds of herbs and stuff throughout the year. You don't care about thinning them back or spacing. Like I don't really care about that stuff too much. It's just kind of nice to continually have new things popping up. So next to the green stock, I've got these San Marzano tomato plants. These ones were purchased at the local garden center. I did not grow these from seed, and they look fantastic. They are a determinate variety, San Marzanos, so I don't pull suckers. I leave everything on there, and I just kind of let it do its thing, and I get usually a good amount of Roma tomatoes that way. I do have the ones that I started from seed, and they are quite small in comparison to the ones I brought at the store. So I'm glad I did that. These were not organic plants, but I think it was worth the price. It was fairly inexpensive to get these 6 plants, and I'm glad I did it. I am starting to notice that we're getting flowers on them already. And I've also got some early prolific straight neck squash hidden in here. We'll see how that does. And behind us, we have the bushing garden beans. I've got 3 different varieties in here that were started at different times. They are a bushing variety, and they don't need trellising, but because I have so much growing in here, I threw some of these really awesome trellises that I love, and I'd love to get more, but I can never find them. So I got those years ago, and they're like my favorite little trellises to throw in for peas and beans like this. These are, I don't remember what these are. These are a tender green improved. They started on April 23rd. Again, today is June 19th, and we're starting to see little beans. Little beans. I've got volunteer potatoes in here that are kind of causing a problem. I don't know how long I'm going to leave those in there. I might end up pulling them out because I have beans over here, and they are not getting the sunlight that they need because of the potatoes. You see these tortoise bugs? We don't want those. And a squash bug. So I think it's going to be time for me to get my Dawn dish soap bucket out here. One of the ways that I do pest control in our garden, we grow organically. So while our plants aren't 100% organic, I grow Dollar Tree seeds that aren't organic sometimes. I get plants from stores that aren't necessarily 100% organic. We generally buy organic soils and composts and fertilizers, and as far as like fungicides and insecticides go, we stick to only organic products and methods. That's just how we grow our food here. That's what we're comfortable doing. However, you are able to produce food that you are able to enjoy for you and your family, that's going to be the best way to do it. And no matter how you do it, it's going to be 1,000 times better than what you can get at the store. One of the questions that I do get is how we control like the squash bugs and things on our squash plants and zucchini plants. If they're really bad, sometimes we'll use a little bit of DE. That has been not really an option this year because of all the rain. It's just going to wash off the plants. The other ways that we use are insecticidal soap, and now that it's getting really sunny out, that's something that we would have to apply to the leaves at nighttime or in the evening so that it can pretty much safely dry on the plant without frying the plant in the sunlight. It would just be like putting baby oil on the leaves, and we don't want to do that. So like if you use neem oil or anything like that on your plants. So any kind of insecticide, you know, that might prevent the squash bugs, we do. Also, we pick them off, and I wish I had brought one with me. I usually keep like an old cup that's going to be going into the recycling anyway. Like if it's like an old yogurt container or something, I'll put like a little tiny bit of dish soap in the container, fill it about halfway with water, and I keep it out here in the garden, and I occasionally have to dump it and start over. But when I pick the bugs off of the plants, I throw it in that dish soap, and they can't, it just gets rid of them. You don't have to worry about squashing them. You don't have to worry about, you know, disposing of them because they don't survive in that situation. Let's see which ones I can find on here. I don't have a bucket of soap with me, but I can still try and snag some of them. Okay, so over here I have a yellow squash. I thought I saw some squash bugs. Ah, there's one. So you gotta look under the leaves a lot of times, but these ones that look like ladybugs, they're not ladybugs, they're squash bugs. And they eat your leaves, they'll make your leaves all lacy. They'll leave you with nothing. So we need to get rid of those. Let's see if I can. You also wanna look for any eggs. So those little shiny gold colored eggs or the yellow eggs on the leaves. If you see them on there, you can spray them, but I usually just like to like scrape it off with my fingernail, or if depending on how much, tearing like a little tiny piece of the leaf off and throwing that in the dish soap. And I saw the other squash bugs that look like stink bugs. Yeah, there they are. I don't know if you can see it. That right there. I don't know if you got it before, but that's what it looked like underneath. And let's see if I can find another one. Oh, there's more. Oh, that thing. I have this fungicide here. It's also an insecticide. And I'll just come in here and the sprayer doesn't work. Of course the sprayer doesn't work. Come on. There it goes. I'm just going to spray around the vase. And you can see the squash bugs, they don't like it. So I try not to spray that stuff too much because I don't want to hinder the bees in any way. So I try not to spray that stuff too much, especially when I see flowers that are completely open. But in this situation, there really aren't any flowers that are open or about to be open. We don't want this guy. It's a lot easier with the soap than it is to do that. I feel like I made a little bit of a difference. All right, moving on. I've got rutabagas here that are looking lovely. Oh, I probably should pull this one. Thin it out a little bit. And then in here are some Laromas. They're tomatoes that I got at the garden center the same day that I got the San Marzanos. This bed's probably a little too crowded. I would say I'll probably pull these rutabagas within the next week and just enjoy what I get from them, because I have the tomatoes and the squash, the zucchini in there, and I don't want them to be hindered too much. Next to it, I've already harvested from this oregano plant this year, and we've already got all of this in here. So I could just keep cutting it back, harvesting. We can keep harvesting from it all year. Got some more tomato plants. These ones I started from seed. Got, pardon my weeds, but I've got Cherokee Purple from Serenaseed, acorn squash in the front, and then we have a whole bunch of different varieties of tomatoes growing. No squash bugs. I have marigolds that I started from seed. Those are from Dollar Tree. They're so pretty, and they're really good for pest control also. I'm glad that I have some growing in this garden bed, but I think what I'm going to do is dig those up and transplant them in different spots in the garden, because I could use them in other spots. The scent of the marigold is so strong that it hinders the smell of like the tomato plants and peppers and stuff. So it's a good companion plant for those things, because it does act as a little bit of a pest deterrent. And then I have these tall telephone peas. Look at those. I've never grown them before. It's kind of making me feel better that I wasn't able to get my green beauty peas this year. Having these is nice. I've never grown them before. They came from Hudson Valley Seed Company, and we're starting to get peas off of them. If you remember, like I've mentioned a million times, we had peas started in a variety of different places around the garden, and a rodent came in and ate all my seedlings. And then I tried starting them again, and it came in and did it again. So these ones, I got started over here in a different location and used metal trash can cloches over the tops of the seeds so that nothing could get to it. and it worked out. And over here we have lots more tomato plants, more marigolds, a different variety, and a volunteer here. So I have some plants I need to move around. I've got dill, lots of weeds, very nice. Back here, I think I just figured out that this was Grand Rapids lettuce that seeded itself. I'm not 100% sure on that. That's what I think it is. We've got bushing beans and kohlrabi, and it looks like a gray zucchini. I'm hoping got pollinated. It would be so exciting to get a zucchini. And then look at all these volunteer tomato plants. These are, I'm fairly certain, the ones over here are black cherry, which I did not grow this year because they always split. As soon as they turn, like they're ripening, if we get any rain, they literally just like explode. So I was like, you know, I'm not going to grow them this year, but it looks like they had other plans and decided that they are growing this year. And I have several plants. What I'm going to do is dig them up and either plant them around. A couple more volunteers over here. Those ones might be the large red cherry tomatoes that I grew in here also in that spot. Those seeds came from Dollar Tree. So those seeded itself too, and I don't think I grew those this year either. I've got all of these chives, and I think I have a plan for them now. I was having a discussion on TikTok with somebody about pest deterrents in our strawberry bed, and somebody brought up a good point in the comments section about companion planting, and I was like, oh yes. She had said onions, but I was like, no, the chives. I have so many chives. I might plant the chives with the strawberries to act as a little bit of a pest deterrent, and maybe a weed inhibitor because there's just so many weeds growing in there. Maybe the chives will take the place of the weeds. I can harvest the chives from the strawberry bed when I'm not getting strawberries. I don't know, what do you think? Should I put the chives in with the strawberries? I think I'm going to. I have a lot of them, and I think it would be a good spot for them. Over here under the bean trellis, I've got these beauties that I started from seed last year or the year before. I'm pretty sure it was last year. And then our white Carolina strawberries that I need to transplant. The asparagus is not looking great. It's got that pest, that beetle all over it again. So I think I'm just gonna cut back the asparagus before it gets too destroyed by those bugs. We were keeping up on it, but now I see the larvae like all over. The bugs that get onto the asparagus, they kind of look like potato bugs a little bit, but they're not. Over here we have blackberries and raspberries, and our pulling beans are doing really well, so that's exciting. The leaves look nice and healthy, unlike previous years. We had so much humidity, I feel like last year, and there wasn't much like breeze happening, so the leaves just kind of got this copper fungus all over them, and they didn't really produce much for the past couple of years. So I'm hoping that we get a good amount of pole beans, and I'm using a different variety than I have in the past. I'm using these Blue Lake pole beans from Hudson Valley Seed Company that I started on May 6th. And I see some morning glories in here that I'm going to pull because morning glories can take over this whole trellis, and I don't want that this year. And then I've got the purple potted pole beans on this side, and those look nice too. Also have the lemon thyme with some morning glories. So many. Look at them all. Morning glories everywhere. I'll probably still end up with some plants, which they're so pretty, but one plant produces so many of those pods. They just drop everywhere. So unfortunately, I have to pull them out when I see them. If I get one vine, I'll be happy, but I don't need 100 vines. That'd be too much. Here is our plastic little greenhouse hanging in there. Didn't really use it much for plants this year. Didn't have to, didn't grow that much. It was a lot easier on me, but we're still planning on building our greenhouse. We just have had so much going on that it's just gonna be one of those projects that hopefully we get done like in the late fall, winter time, as long as there's not snow on the ground, and we'll be able to use that time out here to build the greenhouse. Our flower bed is looking not so springtime anymore. It's looking a little bit more summertime, a lot more weeds. I've really tried to stay on top of it, and the crabgrass just, with all the rain, it just grew through the rain, and here we are. It's okay though. I'm not going to stress out about it too much. The sunflowers are looking good. We've got some volunteer sunflowers here. I can't wait to see what those are. And then the bee balm's got buds on it. Our lavender. And then these flowers are done for this, you know, those are springtime flowers, so those are kind of done. Catmint, I think it is. The color is cat's pajamas, and it's from Proven Winners, but I think the plant itself is catmint. It is starting to grow another round, which is nice. That continuously starts to produce flowers, which is pretty. Now we're back over by the strawberry bed. We've been harvesting strawberries, but they've slowed down. We have had we have a chipmunk, a very large chipmunk, mice, I think, and lots of ants have taken, you know, a lot of our strawberries, but I still have been able to harvest at least 3 gallon size bags of them, and I'm really grateful for it because I think that's the most that I've been able to freeze, plus the ones that we've been eating fresh. So we've gotten a lot of strawberries, and I still see some more in here. And then these beds back here are doing several different varieties of cherry tomatoes, and I have a moonbeam grape tomato. So those plants are looking pretty good. I've got zucchini and squash in the front that don't look great, and the Black Beauty eggplant. My eggplants this year are terrible, just like my peppers. So I might, the next time I'm at the garden center, pick up an eggplant plant, or aubergine, which I find to be a much more pleasant word than eggplant. And then I have the sweet potato vines in this bed here. I think lastly, in these very large fabric pots, I've got a Rosso Sicilian tomato, Mountain Princess tomato, Dr. Weish's, and another eggplant down there. And then here is where I started those beans. I did a short video of starting these beans while answering somebody's question. It looks like some of the seeds were dug up. So hopefully I've got one here that's sprouting, hopefully more sprout, but it looks like something got in here and ate some of the seeds. Same thing with this Sugar Baby watermelon over here. Something, I started a bunch of new seeds over here because the seedlings were struggling, and it looks like something ate it. I don't know, I'm persistent. I have the seeds, and there's still so much left in the grow season that I'm just gonna keep trying. And hopefully, I'd love to get just a bushing variety of watermelon to grow in a fabric pot and see how it does, because I've grown watermelons, like the regular watermelons, just allowing them to grow along the ground here in the garden, and they do really well. But it would be fun to see if I could get a bushing variety to produce in a fabric pot. I find that interesting if I'm able to do that. One last thing I forgot to show is behind me. This bed here has our winter squash in it, and I've also got radishes and the Jacob's cattle bean. It's a drying bean. It's a bushing variety dry bean. So I have those growing also. But I think that is it for the garden tour. It is already 4:30, and that means I have to go in and get washed up and start dinner. That's gonna do it for this video. I didn't do a couple of the things that I said I was going to. I'm glad I got to see the things that need to be fertilized, and I got to see some of the seeds that need to be restarted, and I got to scope out where I can transplant those tomato plants that I have. I do actually have more spots than I thought I did. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Bye! Lisa didn't thunder.